The challenge before us remains uncomplicated. Your existence rests upon the misguided notion that others genuinely care for your well-being. However, Niccolò Machiavelli reveals that their affection serves merely as disguise. Their devotion functions as camouflage, while their animosity represents authentic reality. Should your ambition include dominance, leadership, or survival without falling victim to jealousy, mastering the reasons behind others' contempt and transforming such negativity into your advantage becomes essential. Throughout your journey, countless grins and gestures of acknowledgement surround you, creating illusions of camaraderie and benevolence. Nevertheless, concealed behind the veil of pleasantries exists something far more sinister. To uncover how such manipulation operates within social and psychological frameworks, subscribe to Dark Psychology Decoded and explore the strategies that expose concealed motives. Contempt defines their genuine sentiment. Each individual embodies predatory instincts toward their fellow beings, with malice serving as the fundamental medium of endurance. Consider this scenario carefully. Picture yourself entering a space filled with individuals displaying warmth, offering acknowledgments, welcoming your presence as though your arrival brings tremendous value. Yet within each person present, lurking behind their outward expressions, something altogether different brews. This emotion transcends affection entirely. Devotion plays no role whatsoever. Even respect remains absent from their thoughts. Instead, apprehension dominates. Personal ambition controls their behavior. This reality represents humanity's authentic character stripped bare. Regardless of sophistication in behavior or eloquence in communication, both genders operate from one fundamental motivation: personal advantage. Believing anything contrary already positions you among the defeated. Accepting such misconceptions means participating in complex dynamics while remaining ignorant of fundamental principles governing human interaction. Whenever achievement comes your way, whenever elevation above mediocrity occurs, whenever you obtain something beyond others' reach, animosity becomes your constant companion. Applause may acknowledge your accomplishments, yet each congratulatory gesture rings hollow, functioning primarily as concealment for underlying bitterness regarding their comparative inadequacy. Recognition never truly celebrates your triumph. Instead, such displays serve as protective barriers masking profound disappointment. Internal questions torment them, constantly asking why fortune favored your path instead of theirs. Each increment of your development in strength, prosperity, or self-assurance causes them to experience diminished significance through proximity to your presence. Human beings cannot absolve you for highlighting their inadequacies through your excellence. Reject deception wrapped in flattering language. Today's companion who celebrates your prosperity might privately wish for your destruction tomorrow. The person residing nearby who expresses admiration secretly harbors jealousy, far exceeding any admission. Even the collaborator fighting alongside you entertains fantasies about eventually claiming your position. Expecting unconditional positive regard from others resembles expecting carnivorous creatures to adopt herbivorous diets or raptors to disregard their natural prey. Such transformations defy natural law entirely. Animosity never emerges accidentally during exceptional circumstances. Instead, hatred constitutes humanity's default condition when witnessing others' accomplishments. Understanding this requires acknowledging that generosity of spirit does not characterize human birth. Desire defines our entrance into existence. Every person craves expansion, increased resources, enhanced influence, greater acknowledgement. Should your presence obstruct that yearning, even through simple existence, contempt becomes inevitable. Possessing greater wealth offends those with limited means without requiring verbal expression. Demonstrating superior strength reminds vulnerable individuals of their fragility. Exhibiting wisdom humiliates those lacking intelligence regardless of gentle communication. Your very excellence constitutes the transgression, guaranteeing perpetual silent secretive animosity. Examine historical patterns and witness this reality's endless repetition. Greatness never receives unconditional appreciation. Caesar faced Senate hatred not from weakness but from overwhelming power. Alexander inspired envy not through failure but through excessive triumph. Even prophets, individuals embodying virtue and foresight, experienced contempt not from wickedness, but because their magnificence exposed others' insignificance. If history's most remarkable figures suffered hatred, what justification exists for believing yourself exempt from this universal pattern? Comprehend this fundamental principle. Human hearts operate through calculations of benefit rather than appreciation. Affection emerges when you provide service, when you accommodate their requirements, when your existence enhances their circumstances. However, once your utility expires, once you cease delivering desired benefits, their supposed devotion disappears like vapor in atmosphere. Gratitude possesses no permanency. Fresh desires, emerging anxieties, and developing ambitions submerge appreciation completely. Conversely, hatred maintains consistency. It conceals itself within envy's darkness, anticipating opportunities for emergence. Herein lies the cruel contradiction. Even perfect behavior, demonstrating fairness, generosity, and compassion, cannot prevent hatred's attachment. Why does this occur? Because kindness itself transforms into weaponry against you. Individuals receiving assistance begin feeling inadequate compared to your position. The hand extending charity always occupies superior positioning relative to the hand accepting aid, and people resent occupying subordinate status. Therefore, even charitable actions generate hatred. Even equitable treatment produces resentment. Your increasing radiance deepens surrounding shadows, darkening hearts against you proportionally. Therefore, experiencing concealed disdain's sting should never surprise you. Discovering that previously friendly faces reveal hostile intentions shouldn't shock your sensibilities. This doesn't constitute betrayal. Exceptions to this pattern don't exist. Natural human law dictates these outcomes. Actions stem from self-interest rather than genuine affection. When your achievements threaten their self-worth, when your confidence diminishes their perceived value, when your determination surpasses their own, animosity becomes inevitable. Verbal expressions may remain suppressed. Immediate actions might not manifest. Nevertheless, the hatred simmers constantly, maintaining its presence, intensifying gradually, nourishing itself continuously. Individuals grasping this reality never experience blindsiding circumstances. They recognize compliments contain envious undertones. Every gesture of greeting conceals calculation. Every alliance harbors animosity's seeds awaiting favorable conditions for germination. Human nature cannot be trusted regarding motiveless affection. Reliability exists only regarding self-serving tendencies. When your existence disrupts those objectives, humanity's authentic character becomes visible. Examine carefully those surrounding your daily existence. Individuals identifying as companions, associates, even supporters. Laughter accompanies your presence. Celebrations acknowledge your victories. Physical gestures of warmth and honeyed words flow freely. However, essential understanding requires recognizing these demonstrations don't always originate from genuine loyalty. These represent carefully constructed facades concealing authentic internal sentiments. Behind cheerful expressions may lurk jealousy, and beneath friendly handshakes may fester bitterness. This represents humanity's grand deception. Authentic emotions rarely receive direct expression. Social existence demands wearing disguises, pretenses of companionship, simulated respect, fabricated dedication. Necessity dictates this behavior because openly expressed animosity carries excessive danger, cost, and revelation. Should your supposed companion harbor contempt, resenting your authority, or envying your fortune, public announcement never occurs. Instead, concealment beneath civility's mask provides protection. Open hostility risks destruction. Weapons remain hidden beneath coverings, awaiting opportune moments for deployment. Consider individuals lavishing compliments upon you. Does praise stem from genuine affection? Or does commendation disguise corrosive bitterness activated by your successive achievements? Their words don't reflect truth, but rather function as strategic smokescreens. Individuals flatter those they secretly envy because flattery purchases proximity, and proximity creates opportunity. By appearing affectionate, they shield themselves from suspicion while silently nurturing growing hatred. What about companions rushing to celebrate your victories? Careful consideration becomes necessary. While raising glasses proclaiming joy regarding your fortune, internal accounting tallies their perceived losses. Your ascension represents their descent. Your illumination dims their radiance. Each upward step you climb pushes them deeper into obscurity. Do you imagine they remain unaware? Do you believe comparison's weight pressing against their pride goes unnoticed? Verbal expression never occurs. However, silence following applause and nocturnal contemplations reveal authentic character. People don't limit hatred to declared adversaries. Companions often inspire greater animosity because proximity provides daily reminders of personal deficiencies. A stranger's prosperity or capability seems bearable because distance creates abstraction, rendering it nearly unreal. However, a companion's achievement, a neighbor's fortune, a colleague's authority function like blades pressing against flesh. Another person's nearby excellence creates restlessness, and restlessness nourishes resentment. Therefore, they smile, acknowledge, embrace, yet behind their masks, hearts burn intensely. This explains why accepting friendship at surface value constitutes foolishness. Loyalty declarations carry minimal significance because devotion frequently serves as performance art. Individuals enact dedication's role because it serves their requirements. They proclaim allegiance because it provides shelter, protection, or advantage. However, secret thoughts involve imagining surpassing you, inheriting your position, rising should you fall. Friendship too often masks concealed ambition. Consider courtiers kneeling before royalty proclaiming eternal service. Does love motivate such behavior? Absolutely not. Kneeling occurs because authority holds power, and proximity to power generates profit. Yet identical courtiers, should royalty lose their throne, would abandon kneeling entirely. Devotion would transfer elsewhere toward ascending stars and emerging masters. Previously demonstrated loyalty would dissolve like mist under sunlight. Identical patterns characterize everyone claiming companionship. They cherish not your essence but advantages gained through association. Even during intimate moments when confidences get shared and connections seem unbreakable, maintain vigilance because individuals possessing your secrets wield weapons, and resisting temptation to deploy such weapons when serving personal interests proves impossible for most. Confidences entrusted today may become ammunition tomorrow when ambition overwhelms affection. Friendship's facade doesn't merely disguise words but functions as strategy, as methodology for gathering intelligence, accumulating power, preparing for moments when betrayal becomes convenient. Dismissing this as pessimism misunderstands reality, because history itself validates these observations. How many monarchs faced betrayal not from adversaries but from closest confidants? How many military leaders experienced abandonment by those once called brothers? How many accomplished individuals fell not before enemy swords but by companions' hands? The reality tastes bitter yet remains undeniable. Those standing nearest to you, those embracing most tightly, often secretly orchestrate your downfall. Friendship's mask becomes necessary because openly expressed hatred reveals excessive information prematurely. Therefore, individuals conceal themselves behind courtesy, behind civilization, behind loyalty's theater. They articulate desired messages. They perform expected behaviors. Meanwhile, they guard authentic sentiments like soldiers concealing weapons beneath cloaks. Failing to recognize this reality, trusting too readily in worn masks, guarantees destruction not by enemies but by those pretending deepest affection. Authority functions like flames. It provides warmth. It illuminates pathways. It offers protection from coldness. However, for everyone unable to access it directly, it burns their vision and scorches their self-respect. Holding power, possessing resources, status, attractiveness, or sway awakens forces in others more dangerous than overt antagonism. Bitterness. This bitterness develops not because wrongdoing occurred, but because your very existence highlights their deficiencies. Consider individuals witnessing your command of respect. They may display submission, may perform deferential behaviors, yet internally they experience humiliation's burden. Why does society accommodate your will while ignoring theirs? Why do audiences attend your words while their voices disappear amid commotion? They cannot accept your superior positioning. Consequently, their hearts twist with unspoken loathing. Open displays never occur because direct opposition might cause ruin. However, within private contemplation, they harbor resentment with every breath. Understand clearly, greater elevation creates more adversaries, not through direct harm inflicted, but through exposure provided. Your wealth highlights their poverty. Your sway reminds them of obscurity. Your assurance magnifies their insecurity. The crown adorning your head symbolizes not merely triumph, but functions as mirrors reflecting their failures back toward them, and individuals cannot forgive those compelling them to witness personal weakness. Even distributing power generously cannot prevent resentment's pursuit. Providing resources creates animosity among those receiving insufficient amounts who curse silently. Granting privileges inspires hatred among excluded parties. Elevating one individual above others generates whispered jealousy among the remainder. Regardless of careful equilibrium attempts, resentment adheres to authority like shadows. Power inherently resists equal distribution, and inequality provides seeds from which hatred flourishes. History itself testifies supporting this truth. Great rulers faced hatred not solely from cruelty but from achievement, dominion, and ability rising above masses. Consider Caesar returning to Rome with unmatched glory. Citizens cheered while senators seethed. They cloaked resentment using justice's language, yet beneath lay envy, anxiety, and humiliation. His magnificence insulted them, prompting choosing daggers over submission. Consider Napoleon, admired for brilliance yet despised by monarchs unable to rival his genius. His victories didn't receive peer celebration, but curses because each triumph diminished their worth. This fate doesn't exclusively afflict emperors and kings. Throughout all existence spheres, powerful individuals attract resentment. Successful merchants face hatred from competitors withering in their shadows. Beautiful women inspire envy from those unable to match their radiance. Eloquent speakers provoke loathing from those whose words fall flat. Authority doesn't exclusively involve crowns and armies, but encompasses any advantage elevating one person above another. Wherever such advantage exists, resentment follows like faithful servants. Therefore, powerful individuals must never remain naive. Believing admiration exists purely misunderstands humanity. Admiration often contains poisonous envy. Praise may sound pleasant, yet conceals bitterness beneath. They may celebrate your victories, yet inwardly long for defeat because your triumph constitutes their humiliation. Increasing ascension deepens that resentment proportionally. Authority's paradox manifests thus. Individuals desperately crave it, yet despise those possessing it. They'll bow to your command because necessity dictates, not desire. They'll follow directives from survival instinct, not devotion. Their compliance doesn't gift affection, but responds to necessity. And once feeling sufficiently empowered to challenge you, loyalty's mask shatters, revealing resentment present throughout. This explains why rulers must remain vigilant not regarding declared enemies but closest subjects. External adversaries hate openly and can be confronted. Subjects within reach, companions who smile and flatter, carry resentment silently, and silence proves far more dangerous. Resentful individuals wait, observe, calculate. They conceal intentions until moments arrive when vigilance lowers, then they attack. Even in minor matters, resentment proves inevitable. Excelling students face classmate contempt. Promoted workers become whisper subjects among peers. Leaders earning trust experience rival undermining. Every advantage breeds envy, and envy matures into hatred. Prevention proves impossible, only management. Possessing authority invites resentment, and pretending otherwise means walking blindfolded toward destruction. Therefore, when ascending, when claiming what others cannot, recognize their hearts turn against you even as mouths offer praise. Their applauding hands conceal clenched fists. Their bows conceal curses. Their smiles conceal teeth sharpened through jealousy. Authority represents the throne upon which resentment kneels. Though kneeling occurs, forgetting never happens. Forgiving never occurs. Growth never ceases. When individuals hold authority, they must address questions older than kingdoms and sharper than any blade. Does being cherished or dreaded prove superior? Many rulers, many leaders, many ordinary individuals cling to notions that affection suffices. That fondness and devotion born from warmth will bind others eternally. However, affection constitutes fragile bonding. It fractures under testing. It fades when no longer beneficial. It withers, confronting ambition. Conversely, dread endures. Dread compels compliance even after affection's evaporation. Yet dangerous equilibrium requires maintenance, because hatred emerges when fear lacks wisdom's temperance. Consider those claiming to cherish you. Their affection carries conditions. They cherish you while you serve them, when providing desired elements, when your presence benefits their existence, but remove those benefits and deny their comforts. Then witness affection's rapid transformation into bitterness. Appreciation vanishes swiftly from human consciousness. Countless benevolent actions dissolve into forgotten memories the instant a single petition faces rejection. Affection depends entirely upon satisfaction, and satisfaction proves temporary at best. Constructing your continuance upon such unstable groundwork invites disaster. Dread, conversely, demands no perpetual offerings, no unending demonstrations of magnanimity. Terror inhabits mental spaces. It establishes roots within emotional centers and refuses to diminish alongside transient impulses. The individual who trembles before your presence complies not from willingness, but from lacking courage to act otherwise. He calculates each movement, each utterance, comprehending the consequences of rebellion. Dread constitutes the shackle binding obedience when fondness crumbles. It represents the instrument guaranteeing compliance even when reverence absents itself. Nevertheless, comprehending this reality proves essential. Terror standing alone provides insufficient foundation. Should someone tremble before you without honoring your position, his anxiety ferments into loathing, and loathing pursues vengeance relentlessly. Should an authority govern through brutality exclusively, he sharpens weapons destined for his destruction. However, when apprehension joins with reverence, with acknowledgement of capability, then animosity cannot strike effortlessly. A prudent individual guarantees that others tremble before his might in manners inspiring respect for dominance rather than contempt for governance. When individuals fear your capability, hesitation paralyzes their actions. When they despise your savagery, conspiracy occupies their thoughts. Contemplate the sovereign ruling through fondness exclusively. He demonstrates liberality, clemency, adoration from those he governs. Yet when adversaries materialize, when circumstances pivot against his favor, subjects disperse rapidly. Affection provides no salvation when peril arrives, because fondness cannot bear sacrifice's burden. Individuals celebrate him during tranquility, yet desert him during conflict. They vocalize admiration when prosperity reigns, yet abandon him to perish when turbulence erupts. Receiving adoration brings pleasantness, yet commanding trepidation establishes necessity. Nevertheless, cultivating apprehension requires subtle mastery. Carelessness proves destructive because excessive brutality generates insurrection. Individuals must never be driven toward hopelessness because desperation births desperate bravery. The sagacious sovereign strikes with precision, disciplines with finality, yet avoids perpetual torment. He guarantees dread maintains constant presence without becoming insufferable weight. Like shadows, it must accompany every individual, reminding them of disobedience's repercussions without consuming them entirely. Examine historical records and witness this principle engraved into civilization's foundation. Authorities seeking exclusively to receive adoration frequently collapsed, betrayed by those previously vowing dedication. Authorities inspiring trepidation, equilibrated with honor, persisted longer because adversaries hesitated and subjects obeyed despite affection's absence. Individuals may appreciate benevolence, yet they prostrate before dominance. They may express approval toward fondness, yet they quake before terror. Trembling surpasses approval significantly when survival occupies central importance. Even within existence's smallest spheres, reality remains identical. A parent seeking exclusively affection from offspring risks forfeiting their regard. An educator depending exclusively upon gentleness risks losing command over pupils. An authority demanding exclusively fondness risks mockery behind his presence. However, the individual commanding honor through resolve, through regulation, through dread's careful equilibrium, secures authorization that fondness alone could never provide. Affection remains discretionary, yet apprehension proves inescapable. Individuals demonstrate fickleness regarding attachments, yet maintain steadfastness regarding anxieties. They may forget your benevolence, yet they cannot forget your capability. They may betray someone they cherish when serving their advantage, yet they hesitate betraying someone they dread because consequences prove excessive. This constitutes human character's reality. Fondness functions as extravagance. Terror establishes necessity. A sagacious individual never rejects affection when manifesting, yet never depends upon it exclusively. He constructs his foundation upon apprehension. Should fondness supplement this structure, it serves as ornamentation rather than cornerstone. Therefore, when ascending, when guiding, when possessing authorization, never question whether individuals cherish you. Question whether they fear opposing you. Never exhaust capability pursuing the crowd's transient attachments. The masses pivot against you as rapidly as atmospheric conditions transform. Instead, anchor yourself within the singular force persisting beyond yearning and beyond appreciation, dread's commanding influence. You declared that regardless of perceived righteousness, regardless of careful navigation, escaping hatred's destiny proves impossible. Existing with capability, with determination, with perspective, summons adversaries from obscurity. You may endeavor living peacefully, you may endeavor living equitably, yet animosity never vanishes simply because selecting kindness. Hatred never exclusively originates from cruelty. More frequently, it constitutes significance's cost. Possessing insignificance invites disregard. Possessing significance invites contempt. This law escapes no individual. Contemplate the individual striving toward goodness, who communicates with honesty, who behaves with righteousness. You might assume such an individual would remain liberated from adversaries, cherished for purity, admired for impartiality. Yet what represents truth? The dishonest despise him for revealing their corruption. The deceitful despise him for reminding them of fraudulence. The inequitable despise him because his impartiality condemns their exploitation. His very virtue generates opposition because it illuminates brightness, forcing others witnessing their obscurity. A virtuous individual receives hatred from the malevolent precisely as a malevolent individual receives hatred from the virtuous. No individual can traverse existence without experiencing contempt from one faction or another. And regarding the individual pursuing magnificence, the determined, the capable, the accomplished, his adversaries multiply with each elevation achieved. Those positioned beneath him covet his prosperity. Those positioned beside him harbor resentment regarding his advancement. Those positioned above him fear his ascension. The greater his climb, the more projectiles target his vulnerability. Achievement never functions as protection. It operates as illumination, summoning hatred from every direction. Should he remain feeble, should he become mighty, individuals despise him. Movement itself stirs resistance. Distinction itself invites animosity. Even reticence, even seclusion, fails protecting individuals from adversaries. Should you communicate sparingly, they label you arrogant. Should you exist humbly, they label you fraudulent. Should you maintain privacy, they label you clandestine, untrustworthy, potentially threatening. Individuals fabricate justifications for despising those they cannot dominate. Should no justification surface, they manufacture one. Animosity demands minimal rationalization. It flourishes from envy's foundation, from apprehension, from mistrust. These components never exhaust themselves. Never assume hatred remains exclusively personal. Entire civilizations, entire collectives, entire initiatives construct themselves upon despising others. Belonging to one faction guarantees hatred from another. Declaring allegiance simultaneously declares hostility. Even impartiality generates disdain because individuals despise those refusing selection, those occupying middle ground as though untouchable. Existing among humanity means being designated by resistance, whether desired or opposed. You may obscure yourself, yet cannot eliminate boundaries hatred establishes surrounding you. This explains why pursuing universal adoration constitutes foolishness. Such phenomena never materialize. The individual attempting satisfying everyone satisfies nobody. The sovereign seeking gratifying every subject ultimately receives universal contempt because granting something to one necessitates extracting something from another, the companion. Attempting agreeing with every associate ultimately receives trust from none because his declarations shift like granular particles. Affection cannot achieve universality, yet hatred persists eternally. The sagacious individual accepts this reality and never exhausts himself attempting escape. Adversaries consequently never constitute malediction but necessity. They provide verification that you possess importance. Verification that you maintain significance within existence. The individual without adversaries represents the individual without sway. The individual so inconsequential that nobody cares sufficiently to resist him. Receiving hatred confirms visibility, confirms envy, confirms apprehension. Hatred constitutes the shadow accompanying magnificence. Should magnificence represent your objective, you must master carrying its shadow without wavering. Contemplate history repeatedly. Every significant figure carried adversaries with them like secondary garments. Caesar experienced betrayal by individuals he previously trusted. Socrates received condemnation by those incapable of tolerating his intellect. Christ himself experienced contempt by those whose dominance he contested. These individuals never received hatred from weakness. They received hatred from capability, because their declarations and behaviors destabilized foundations supporting others. Their adversaries proved inevitable because their significance proved inescapable. Consequently, this applies to you identically. Whether ascending through dominance or virtue or determination, animosity will attach itself to you. It never consistently roars publicly. Frequently it murmurs in darkness, anticipates in quietness, adorns friendship's disguise until betrayal's moment materializes. Yet it perpetually exists, circulating around you, evaluating you, nourishing itself upon your presence. You may not perceive it. You may not sense it initially, yet hatred demonstrates patience. It anticipates the appropriate moment. The sagacious individual never wastes existence wishing liberation from adversaries. He never fantasizes about universal adoration because he recognizes it as delusion. Instead, he examines his adversaries, evaluates their capability, and masters transforming hatred into weaponry. Receiving hatred confirms vitality within others' perception, and vitality within their perception confirms possessing dominance. Hatred proves inevitable, yet inevitability need not constitute your devastation. Recognizing inescapability strengthens you beyond those still fantasizing about receiving universal adoration. Therefore, now you witness reality exposed completely. Individuals never bind themselves to you through fondness, but through their personal yearnings. They express approval through disguises. They harbor resentment regarding your authority. They covet your achievement and cannot resist despising you. Ascending within this existence summons adversaries, and pursuing universal attachment constitutes chasing shadows without substance. Yet hatred never constitutes your downfall unless permitting it. Hatred verifies that you possess significance. Verification that you disturb others' comfort. Verification that you elevate yourself above masses. Never fear it, never escape from it. Accept it as influence's natural compensation. Ultimately, neither affection maintains your security nor benevolence secures your position, but capability to dominate hatred, to recognize it, to withstand it, and to employ it as the precise measurement of your dominance.